Yo, what up guys? Welcome to the third of the 4 walkthrough videos on the Mirror EP. In this video we are going to look at my track Our Nation, but before you do that, please keep in mind that I made 2 similar videos to this one for Do Anything with MC Synergy and Release the Chain. If you haven't, please check those out as well. So in this video I only wanted to touch on 2 subjects, but really go a little bit more in depth. Mainly on using rhythms in your mid-intros, and also a little bit more about vocal production. Vocal production is one of the things I really love doing. You know, you're not really working on a synthesizer, you are working with a real person with emotions and ideas and everything. That's one of the things I wanted to touch upon a little bit more. Besides that, I used to play drums every day for 1.5 to 2 hours, and I absolutely love doing it. So rhythm is very important for this guy. That's why I'm going to look at the drops and how to play with rhythm, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about vocal production. So without further ado, let's go. Yo, what up guys? Perfectionism kicking in right now. As you can see, different backlighting, different clothing. I wasn't really satisfied with the part I recorded, so I re-recorded it, and let's go. The gods of our nation. Standing fearless. The gods of our nation. So, as you can hear, there's a lot of things going on, but in my opinion, I don't think that the elements are really fighting each other. I think they're really complementing each other, and that's because of, you know, different rhythms that are playing and are stacked on top of each other. What I'm going to show you is I'm going to play the drop without the kicks, and then you'll see that all of the elements I added still keep the original rhythm going. So, let's check it out. Of our nation. So as you can hear, the rhythm is still going on. You can still feel the vibe going even without the kicks. And I think this is one of the coolest things you can do in mainly hardstyle music. I could have just, you know, played only the kick. Maybe added the crash, you know. So what I did is I stacked up a crash on every hit the kick is playing. A crash is just a very easy way to accentuate rhythm in your drops. So this is element 1 that I've added to the mix. Also, as you may have heard, I have a very nice loud snare. And what I did is, you know, fill up some of the spaces with that snare. So I'm gonna mute these ones right here. I'm gonna play the drop without them. You know, this doesn't sound half as bad, but adding the snare just gives it that sauce, you know. The snare is like really keeping the rhythm going. You know, it's just a different sound that really gets your attention and then flows back into the drop again. Percussion, very important in keeping the drop alive, you know, keeping it exciting. And don't be afraid to stack crashes on top of your kicks, and don't be afraid to, you know, play with the pattern of your kick and maybe replace a kick with a snare, or try to pitch up a punch and see where it goes, you know. It could really make a rhythm that much more interesting to listen to. Then I've added 2 screeches, and the one I added first was a kind of a rhythmic screech. So I'm gonna play it right here. So as you can hear, it really, just like the crash, it plays on the rhythm of the kick. So every instrument is accentuating the rhythm, thus making it more exciting. Very easy track, just like a crash. So the key when using screeches in this way is that it should be a screech that isn't really taking up too much space in the mix. Because the only thing it's doing is accentuating the rhythm. And if you are using a ridiculous screech like you know, that could take away a bit of the vibe or the flow that's going on. What a screech like that could be very cool for, and exactly what I've done right here. The screamy screech is playing against the rhythm of the other screech, and the screamy screech is, you know, really playing with the rhythm of the rhythm screech. So it's playing, it's accentuating it in a kind of way. Now with the screamy screech, I think it sounds pretty dope. Another reason I've wanted to add this screech right here is because of, you know, the first part of the drop is only kicks, it's only rhythm, and then I wanted to add a little bit of an attention grabber, you know, for the listener or the audience to know that, okay, there's a different part playing right here. It gets more exciting and maybe gets people to dance a little bit more. Another tip for using these kinds of screeches together is to keep the rhythm screech completely dry. The reason I did this is that they are going to the same reverb bus, and if I would send these screeches to the same bus, it would screw up the reverb. So check it out. Now I'm gonna mute these sends, so this screech isn't going to the reverb anymore. You can really hear the reverb kicking up again when it stops playing. Bonus tip! To get that pumping effect, I put on a compressor to sidechain to the signal of the reverb itself, and I played with the release time. The release time is how long it takes to, you know, kick back again, and I played with this until it fit into the vibe I wanted in the drop. Now we've nerded out on some screeches. The last thing I added were the vocal chops. And the only reason I added these vocal chops is because it's my own voice and I really wanted to, you know, feed my ego. No, I'm just joking. I think vocal chops are fucking sick. I'm really, you know, inspired by guys like The Playa, who are masters of, you know, vocal chops, but also masters of getting the most out of an acapella. You know, he always uses different words, different cut up things, and it always sounds interesting, you know. So to experiment with those vocal chops myself, I made one into this drop, and I think it sounds pretty cool. So these are the vocal chops. So as you can hear, I also cut up the vocal chops to give it a you know, a stutter effect. So besides it playing on the notes of the kick, it also has some effect within the vocal chops, which makes it even more interesting, but it's also like rhythm related. So this is the drop without the vocal chops. And this is the drop with vocal chops. It just gives that last thing that the drop needed to really make it slam. So these vocals, I recorded them with Raquel. Raquel is somebody I know from high school. And when I was working on this draft, I really wanted a female vocalist to tell the story, and I immediately thought of her. I think this one is really self-explanatory, so always import the draft. Maybe fun to hear. This is the first version of Our Nation. Same nice chords. Same melody, but the kicks are totally different. Also, the second drop is totally different. I think the only thing that really is the same is the melody drop. Besides the draft, you really want to prepare some vocal tracks because it just speeds up the process. You know, if you have an appointment set with a singer and he or she is coming over and you still have to prepare the project, it could take away of the flow, you know. So always try to prepare a session beforehand. I always like to add 2 center vocals. This way you can, you know, split sentences or split words and really give the vocalist a little bit time to breathe and really give everything for the vocal takes you are recording. So if you are doing it like this, always say like, okay, I want you to do the first and the third sentence, and afterwards I want you to do the second and the fourth. Besides that, always prepare some left and right channels for doubling. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 doublings right here. I've done sessions with Kevin, one from the guy from Release the Chain, with even more tracks in a vocal session, and we had absolutely so much fun doing it. So if you have the time and the space, really take the time for it. So send all these tracks to a bus, apply some general compression. As you can see, I also put on my favorite EQ of all time, the Pultec EQ, and I also use this compressor, a LA2A emulation, because that compressor just slams the frick out of the vocals and it really makes it easy to mix. This is the compressor you want to use on vocals. As you can hear, we have the center takes right here.
I can't give up, say it louder. You can't break these vengeful towers. We won't give in to temptation.
So that is the center takes. As you can hear, they are not really perfect, but that's a different step in the process. The same goes for the doublings. Raquel has a naturally lower voice, so these are takes that she was able to do in, you know, 1 or 2 tries.
I can't give up, say it louder. You can't break these vengeful towers.
As you can hear, these tones are much more stable, and that's because she's just more comfortable in this range. So now we have these takes together, and this is a nice basis, but we're not gonna stop there, guys. We're gonna add more vocals, more layers. It's all about the sauce. We add these doublings right here.
Say it louder. Vengeful tower.
And this was actually a suggestion from Raquel to get a little bit of a call and response vibe in the vocal. So now I'm gonna put the rest with it.
We won't give in to temptation.
So as you can see, it really adds something and really excites the vocal. We decided to do that again on a different sentence.
Louder, you can't break these vengeful towers. We won't give in.
It just starts evolving and evolving more. A lot of melodies and a lot of vocals end in a way that really rounded off, you know, it really takes you home. And in this case, we decided to do something a little bit different with more of a harmonic minor add to the vocals. So these takes right here are what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna mute them. And now with these takes added, so I'm gonna solo them. So now we've recorded the vocals, Raquel is going home again, and now the real annoying work starts. And as you can see, I have all the same takes right here, all cut up, faded, and everything in between. These are all the vocals I have auto-tuned. I know auto-tune is looked down upon, but really, if you want to make your life easier, use auto-tune and use a good one, like Antares, for example. I believe I used a combination of Antares and the pitch correction from Logic itself. It's actually a pretty decent plugin. It sounds kind of digital, but what the hell.
I can't give up, say it louder. You can't break these vengeful towers. We won't give in to temptation.
So as you can see, the takes Raquel did were good, but with the auto-tune added, it really makes it sound professional. So guys, that's it for today. If you have any questions regarding these topics, let me know down below, and see you in the last video.